blended. All right, so we will start the meeting, call the meeting to order, the Selectmen's meeting of the 17th of May, 4 o'clock, Old Lyme Town Hall. The first item is to review the minutes of the prior meeting, May 3. I guess we should probably make a motion and have comments on it, and then we'll...
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on it?
I have none.
I just had a couple of spelling. We had a caller last meeting.
I've got to talk to you about that mic again, unfortunately.
Steve Sarnecki is spelled wrong in our meeting minutes. His last name is spelled C-Z-A-R-N-E-C-K-I. There's a correction to his spelling of his name on page 4 and page 5.
Oh, yes.
So that's really all I have. That was of any substance.
Okay. All right. With that adjustment, are we ready to approve the minutes as amended? All in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. Number 3, appointments. It says none. I did receive a call today from Michael Fogliano, who was the chairman, or he was the chairman of the committee, and the committee will have its inaugural meeting Wednesday. He informed me that Brad Burgess, who we did appoint, has resigned, and so Michael recommends that we elevate William Belusi to become a regular member. He is an alternate with a term ending January of 2023, and if he would replace Mr. Burgess, he would be a regular member with a one-year term ending January of 22. So if you're disposed to doing this, we would need a motion to put this on the agenda under appointments, and then we could vote on the recommendation from Mike Fogliano.
I'll make a motion to make an appointment to the Affordable Housing Commission.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to add this to the agenda, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so then now that that's on the table, we can vote on the motion to have William Belusi move from an alternate position to regular member with a term ending January of 22.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
How do you spell that gentleman's last name?
It's Belluzzi.
Okay, thank you.
Tim, in our last meeting, you had said you were waiting to hear from the chairman of planning for an appointment. Have you heard from Harold?
The what now?
At our last meeting,
Yeah.
you were waiting to hear from a request that you made to the chairman of the planning commission.
I have not,
Thompson?
I was away, but I got no verbal or written communication, so I'll have to follow up with the chairman on that. So I'm standing by. Yeah. Okay, the next item is under old business, COVID cases. I'm not sure our exact count, but it's something in the neighborhood of 329 or a little north of that. We're moving slowly, which is to be expected, and we still have the statistics of 2 deaths related to COVID. As we know, the CDC and other federal level people are recommending some changes that would be implemented on Wednesday the 19th, and I think the governor will probably clarify his stance on it. As we've heard probably from news reports, the thought is that masks would be optional for those who have received their vaccinations, and for those who have not, it's sort of an honor system. But I think the mask mandate would be lifted with respect to outdoors and indoors. Certainly, businesses or other entities could make their own call if they felt it would be in their best interest to continue with a mask mandate inside of their place of business or operation. So I think we're waiting to see definitely what happens at the state level. I think there'll be a governor's call on Wednesday to clarify that. We have in town hall, of course, we have been using the masks for when employees and others are outside of the offices. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, I think we will, I want to, canvass the employees and get their feedback as to what they think would be appropriate. But I think, as we've heard, that people have had their shots don't have to be overly concerned about being out and about without a mask. We would still have some of these plexiglass shields in front of certain offices where the public comes to do business. So I think we'll have to come up with a protocol as to how we want to deal with this. I've heard that even people who choose not to get the vaccine, that's their prerogative. And of course, the way the HIPAA rules are, we're not allowed to interrogate somebody as to whether they've had a shot. So it's more or less on, like I say, on the honor system as far as this is concerned. So it needs a little more work. As you know, our town hall greeter will be leaving us at the end of the month. We have a possible replacement for that position. I think it's been a very helpful thing to have a greeter, and at this time of the year we do have a lot of people coming into town hall that would make tax payments, get dog licenses, beach passes and the like. So I think if we can continue to have a person probably, I'd say, through July, when the tax bills are due, that might be very helpful. And then whether we would need coverage beyond that remains to be seen. But at least we do have an option once our present person leaves us at the end of the week here. So we can open it up for the selectmen to comment, but I think we need to hear what the governor says, and then it'll be up to the locality to make more refined decision on what we do locally.
Now, is he still covered, or that position still covered with grant money?
As I am told by our emergency management director that it should be, yeah. But as we know, the executive orders are supposed to sunset, I think, the 20th of May. They may be continued by the legislature, so we're not sure what will happen. I don't think they have been. Does anybody know they have been? I've been away, but I don't believe the legislature has continued the governor's executive powers beyond May 20th, right? So
I think they're still discussing it.
Because I think once those end, that may have a consequence on what reimbursement we might receive as well. But so we need more clarity, and perhaps the call on Wednesday will provide that. But I think we're getting to the point where Connecticut is loosening up. That's good for businesses for sure, and it could impact what happens at the beaches as well. Last year we had a lot of support from FEMA and the CARES Act to help us fund some of the extra protections we had in place. So that may not be required to the full extent it was last year.
Well, I think your idea of having a greeter through July makes a lot of sense. And then revisiting it based on what we learned from the governors, what's left of the executive orders, and what the legislature advises. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think the greeter's been a great idea. The person we've had, Chris, has been exceptional. In fact, I've heard him answer people's questions very, just professionally as people came in and politely, and he's just been a terrific asset. I
That's
think,
right.
to town hall.
Yeah. Definitely so. All right. We'll turn to the project updates. Soundview sidewalks are moving ahead, and Joe, we will just have you comment on current events, and I know there are some loose ends that need to be dealt with, but at least, and there's a meeting tomorrow morning, I understand, right? On site? Is that tomorrow?
There's a committee meeting tomorrow at 4.
Oh, it is? Mm-hmm. Is there a site thing?
Our engineer had sent an email saying he was going to be on site, but I don't know what he's going to say.
Okay, well, I'll ask you about that later, but okay.
As of at least Friday, the excavation was up to 264 shore, and the grading was getting underway on Hartford Avenue, so they'll be finishing that and then doing the sod on Hartford Avenue. Shore Road, with everything, the weather was good last week, so they got a lot done. And at this point, it looks like they're on target to meet the deadline for substantial completion by the end of May. And then, of course, they have another month to do the remaining finishing touches, if you will. We know that the supply chain has been affected by COVID, so there'll be some pieces, maybe some of the decorative poles and maybe some fencing that won't be in, but that's out of our control, of course. But to this point, it looks like they're on target for making that date. And as Tim said, we've been meeting regularly, and we have a special meeting tomorrow at 4 to discuss some of the issues that homeowners have raised with us, and also to look at the design plan that the engineering firm is proposing for the bus transportation site, which we haven't seen yet. Have any questions?
I do. I forwarded you Paul Nickerson's thing about that. Did anybody speak to him about what was going on?
Yes.
Where would that meeting be held tomorrow for other people that want to go? Or is it, can we zoom in? Or?
Yeah, the meeting's on WebEx. It's on the calendar.
Okay.
And we've been meeting virtually. Paul and I have communicated by email. I've gone to his house a few times and never caught him there, but where we left it on Friday or Saturday was that if he would like boulders on his property, I thought he might want to go look at the person who's volunteered to give the town boulders. And as of Sunday, she was unaware that he had looked at her property. So that's kind of where we're at on that.
Okay. He called me back on Friday, and he did mention something about the boulders. So, okay, as long as there's communication, that's good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that, I volunteered to go with him, but
Okay.
he probably hasn't had a chance to get back, but the person who volunteered her boulders in her yard to the town, we would just have to obviously work out the logistics in getting those down to Paul if that meets his needs. But in the conversation I had with her, I wanted to make sure it was okay for someone to come in her backyard and look at those things. She had been updating me on what she's been doing over COVID, and she shared that she'd been working for a long time with AT&T. And we have a guide wire that's in the sidewalk outside of, like to the east of Teddy's Pizza, that we haven't been able to get the company to move. And she had suggested that I try again, and if I had any issues, she would try. And then she called me on Sunday and said, no, she was going to try. I got a message from Frank Pappalardo this afternoon that she did indeed get through to Frontier, and they're going to come out and remove that guide wire out of the sidewalk. So she had very good success, it sounds like. I don't have any of the details at this point, but that was really, really appreciated, and that was Jackie Miano. So thank you, Jackie.
Okay, great, thank you.
I just have one question. Were we able to comment on this later in the meeting?
Yes.
On the sidewalk project?
Usually under public comment, correct?
Yes. Generally, if you want to make a statement, we have a section later on called public comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Good. All right. Thank you. Ferry Road sidewalk. We are scheduling face-to-face appointments with initially 7 abutters, which reside between Lime Street and Lieutenant River Lane. We want to explain where we are with the options and just get some feedback from the abutters, which would be obviously the most impacted parties. Following that, we would speak with, I believe it's 3 homeowners that reside on the north side of Ferry Road after Lieutenant River, west of Lieutenant River Lane, down toward where the new sidewalk exists, near the fire well, just to have conversations about that stretch. We've got 2 appointments scheduled, and we're working to have everyone an opportunity to meet with the committee. We have Joanne DiCamillo is on the committee, Evan Griswold, and Dan Montano. So we have a small group, and it could be added to, but we're starting small, and so we hope to have these conversations and see what consensus there is. Obviously, we will have to ultimately make a decision with respect to which side of the road we work and install the sidewalk, but we want to hear from folks for sure. We also intend to have a public hearing before a final decision is made, so that people that don't reside on the Ferry Road per se would have an opportunity to speak about it. So that's the immediate task at hand.
Tim, this board did not set up a committee. On our last meeting, you didn't have a committee. So Can you tell me how these 3 people and yourself, I'm assuming, became a committee?
I thought of, people that I know who would likely be good and attentive. Certainly Joanne has, the tree commission is pretty darn familiar with the process so far. Evan is, he's a forestry graduate, so he's well equipped for trees and so forth. And Dan is somebody who's a good, sensible person. So that's where we're at the moment. If there's,
I'm not having any complaints with these individuals. My question now is the process. We have a process. Most of us have to follow the process. You did not follow the process.
I'm not aware of a process per se. I don't know that committees are. What is the process?
Well, to date, on all the committees that I've been part of, is that the folks are recruited to be on the committee, and the Board of Selectmen appoint the committee. They come in, they get sworn in, they get a charge, and they do their volunteer service to the community.
Yeah, well, I'm not aware of a policy per se, so I would say if either of you have a suggestion for someone to be involved, let's get that information, but we're trying to move this forward, so, if you've got someone in mind, I think we could add, it's a small group at this point. So.
Do you have a charge for the committee then? It's hard to find somebody if they don't have, the charge of what they're supposed to do.
Well, I think it's fairly evident that we have this the sidewalk is in bad repair. We're going to come up with a plan to replace it, and so no, there's not an elaborate process here. I think it's just get individuals who are going to work on it and get them going. Do you have anyone you'd like to suggest?
I didn't even know we had a committee, so
Well,
not right now. Well, as of our last meeting, and I've been asking, are you going to set up a committee?
Yeah.
And I was told, one meeting I was told not now, and last meeting you said you were gonna, and this is the first I've heard of it. So,
well,
it's outside of the practice.
okay. Well, I would say if either of you have a name that you would like to be considered to go on it, why, please submit it. And I don't think we need a great large committee for sure. And I think it's a fairly specific task, and so we'll consider whomever you wish to suggest.
I think this is a very non-transparent event. I mean, if the public don't even have the opportunity to participate and know there's a committee, that's certainly not a transparent government.
Well, I think
you can't argue on this one. I'm sorry. You formed a committee without the Board of Selectmen's input.
Well, I formed it, and I think it's important to get going on it, and so, give me a name, or if you wish to add someone, be happy to consider it.
The committee keeps people accountable to the project. You have a committee, you have a charge, and you have a plan, and you have regular meetings. You set it up on the agenda, on the calendar, so everyone can kind of keeps people accountable.
Well, I don't know that we need an involved process. I think we need people who will get on, work on it, and make it happen. So, if there's a requirement for a charge and all this other process, so be it. But I should think it would be within the purview of the selectmen, first selectman, to appoint a committee to handle this project. So, Okay, the next item is the transfer station. As we know, the small building has been installed. The scale connection goes to the new small building as it did with the old building. And so the next stage will be to come up with a plan to replace the old building that was removed. Phil is working on a couple of different options, and I've not heard an update as to where we stand with the next phase. But if we can get something that would be a pre-assembled building that could be delivered, that would be, I think, the best, because it would be done in quick order rather than have to build something. So we'll see what comes of it. I think the issue may be whether having a bathroom in the building complicates things or not. Just what are the elements? So we should be getting some clarity on that, I would say, before the next meeting. But it is able to function using the scale, so that's good news. Concerning the Swan Brook outlet, I've asked Attorney Collins, who is town council, to look into the actual responsibility for the pipes and the outlet into Long Island Sound, as to whether the town is responsible. As we know, the improvements were put in the 40s, and the outlet itself, which is a wooden structure, has been replaced a couple of times. I don't know how many times over those years, what was there at the beginning, but anyway, over the last 15 or 20 years, it's been repaired a couple of times, replaced even. So this would then clarify whether the town is responsible for it or not. There have been discussions on sort of a temporary fix. There have been a couple of ideas on a more permanent solution. One would be to stay with what we have and just upgrade it, or the other would be to relocate it along the border of Miami and Hawks Nest Beach. If you change locations, I think I mentioned before, this triggers having to have a new DEP permit, and that is an extended process. If you deal with what you have and you can pretty much stay in the same footprint and so forth, that can be done much more easily with what they call a certificate of permission. So where the first order of business would be to unplug one of the pipes. Of the two pipes, one functions and the other's blocked. It doesn't look like it would be that terrible to unblock it, but dealing with the marine environment, it's not quite so simple. And then once it's functional, and then probably make the wood crib as safe as we can, and sturdy it up. That would be the second thing, until we identify how we want to attack the thing long term. So we've had some discussions with the neighboring beaches, and so I think when we get the answer back from the attorney, we'll be much more in a position to decide who's responsible and how we're going to pay for things. Turning to Sound View, we've been making preparations for the Sound View summer season here, which is basically on us. We have also the golf cart policies we discussed. Attorney Collins got back and indicated that he thinks it's very important to have some further clarification on liability for the town with respect to inspections of carts and whether they can cross Route 156 and so forth. So we're standing by on that. So Mr. Orzel has been part of a committee, and he could shed a little light for us on where we stand with the golf cart piece, and then we can go on from there.
Sure, okay. All Orzel from the Sound View Commission. Frank Capillardo cannot be here today, but I'm going to just provide you with an update as to where we are on the policy and procedures for the golf cart policy as of today.
What's your habit?
Sure. There's a handout that I provided to all the selectmen. First one, the verbiage on that. Attorney Collins has, first off, probably and foremost, has given us his support for the golf cart program. Says it can work and he's committed to making it work. That being said, the documents do need some language adjustment to them. He's been working on that. He has also placed a call in to CIRMA, the town's insurance company, and the underwriters there are just a little concerned about the hold harmless language that's currently in the document, and we'll get back to him with how that can be reconstructed. So we're on track. Unfortunately, Attorney Collins was out on Friday. He had a medical procedure today. He's hoping to get the documents back from the underwriters by the end of the week. And we've asked him to reconstruct the documents for us, the two documents. That would be the guidance document for the town of Old Lyme and the police department, and the Sound View rules and regulations. He agrees with the golf carts having safety equipment such as brakes, headlights, turn signals, horns, and the like. However, the words of inspection do not fit. So he'll adjust that, simply that the cart probably just has to be equipped with, whether they work or not. It's not our business. So again, he's working on that, and I think that'll be done by the end of the week. The parking for the golf carts has been assigned to the first two spaces. I believe there's spaces 145 and 46 on Hartford Avenue. The Public Works Department was down this morning, and they have converted those two parking places to 5 golf cart spaces. So 145 and 146 will now become 5 paid parking places. They look like motorcycle parking, so this afternoon 2 motorcycles parked in them.
Yeah.
I did happen to see Ed. Ed drove by this morning. I hailed him down and I said that the brake line between spaces 145 and 146, perpendicular to the curb, was still there. And they painted over it. I said that line should have been blacked out. He said, okay, I'll talk to the guys. I also said they need to be stenciled, golf cart parking only. He informed me that he doesn't have a stencil for that. So I guess at some point we're going to need to get a stencil that should be put on there as well. But the spaces are painted, so they're in. And that goes from 2 paid spaces to 5 paid spaces. Okay? The kiosk has been reprogrammed. Ranger Joe Riley has been working with the kiosk company. I did observe them this week. Found they're reprogramming the kiosks, and they're now able, by transaction, to add Connecticut state sales tax. And that'll be added. There's been some communication with Nicole as well, and Nicole has devised a way to be able to work the financial accounting for that as well. So the parking is in place. The Soundview parking lot, while we're on the kiosk, there's a second piece of paper that details the revised kiosk labeling that's going to be put on the kiosk regarding parking, the inclusion of Connecticut state sales tax, payment methods being credit card only, MasterCard or Visa, no cash, and that one motorcycle or one cart is allowed per space. I'm sure it was a typo on Frank's part, but one of the documents here, if I can draw your attention back to the note, the update note from Frank, that he has in italics there to Nicole, indicates that they've been reprogrammed for $6 or $10 plus tax. But I believe it's $6 or $9, as is reflected on the key. So we're going to have to make sure we clean that up and understand what number is right. I just noticed that when I was in here. The signage on the other side of this document, these are the two large signs that are in Sound View. One at the parking lot, one at the entrance to the beach. The sign itself is not being replaced. There is some confusion out there that the entire sign is being replaced. Again, drawing your attention to this picture on the back of the page, there's a hashed out area on the bottom. That is the only part of the sign that is having an overlay constructed to it. And that overlay is going to read what is below. Coolers 5-quart maximum, stand-up paddle boards prohibited, beach open 9 to 7:30 p.m. And then the rest of the signs within the parking area, the beach areas, are being modified to be the same color palette for the whole area, which is the tan with the blue font, I believe. One thing I wanted to show you as well was that the golf carts for Sound View are going to have a unique mark, and they're going to have a unique plate on them. They're also going to have a unique flag on them as well. This shaft will be a darker blue. There'll be an 8-inch safety reflective yellow piece of the shaft right here, the whip I should call it. This will be our flag. It's going to have the silver reflective stripe through it. So all the carts registered in Sound View will be required to have a registration plate which is being constructed, and I believe Frank spoke about that the last select meeting.
Yep.
And the flag which we didn't have, which we now have. So I believe that's all that I have to say on that. And if possible, I would like to request if the selectmen think it would be appropriate, if we could get approval on the regulations and the documents for Sound View, which would be conditional on the approval of our town attorney, Attorney Collins.
Yeah, he's looking at all the various, he's looking at, I mean, there are probably a number of forms that he's going through, right?
He's looking at the 2 or 3 forms that Frank shared with the selectmen last week. Those are the ones he's going through. CIRMA is looking at liability for the town. And that's why they question. The hold harmless, I believe, has to be worded. And they will work that. And then Attorney Collins, he asked whether or not we would like to revise the documents, or would we like him to. We stated that we would like him to, if possible. Mm-hmm. And he agreed.
Yeah, because in the last minutes, it said the selectmen agreed that if the town attorney is on board with this, they have no problem with it. So,
In principle, he is.
yeah, unless he finds something. Now, I think I heard him say that the traversing 156 is only available to golf courses.
That's a
At state
clarification.
roads.
We thought it was.
Yeah,
you
so
could
that,
simply cross, not travel in the direction.
right.
That's a true statement. However, there must be a golf course involved.
Yeah.
So far.
So that may be a problem for properties north of 156 that would like to come across, if that's the rule. Yeah.
Paul, how many golf carts per person can be registered, or is there any limit?
So far, there is not a limit. We can.
Well, there was one thing when I was looking at the draft of the owner information form, might just ask the golf cart owner's name. And I was just wondering if there had been any discussion on.
There's been no discussion and there is no limit now. However, every cart would have to be registered singly and carry the same marking and a unique plate.
One of the questions I had when this was brought up was, Pond is a private road, and we have, I guess, Frank had said we have an easement to use Pond Road. Do we have, or can Attorney Collins confirm that golf carts from Hartford Avenue or Swan can ride on Pond? Just to make sure, okay. And then
We're anticipating traffic from the beaches as well, from Miami and from not the one, Colony. And I have had discussions with Chuck, last name escapes me, at Point of Woods. Chuck is very interested in this. He would like a copy of it when we're done. They're struggling with unlicensed drivers in their community, and they want to know what they can do to kind of put a nip of butt on that. And if we have a town policy, although it's, and again, the police policy is for town-wide. So if the town desires to have golf carts, and I know Chris mentioned this to me, at Hawk's Nest, or register those carts at Hawk's Nest, or control them through this process, or at Rogers Lake, the overlying process would be the same. The town's policy would be the same. It would not have to be constructed uniquely for anywhere else within the limits of the line.
well, that's good then. I think I'm, like Tim said, we seemed in principle open to the idea, but I'm not sure if I feel comfortable voting on it without the final from the attorney. I'm not sure I'm there.
I know, 'cause I've got a 6-week lead time I need.
I know.
We could, if time were of the essence, we could schedule a special meeting just on this matter on any day of the week kind of thing. So we don't have to wait till the next selectmen's meeting necessarily. If he comes back at the end of the week with something, we could maybe meet one day next week and call a special meeting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So that's my report.
A lot of work.
And fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, we're about to send out the letters to the permitted parking lot owners in the beach area. Let's see, in the recent time, I think in at the end of 2011, the fee was $20. In 12, it went up to $30. And in 2020, it went to $35. So over, a period of about 10 years, it's gone up $15. And most recently in 2020. So we need to get agreement on whether we keep the fee as it is at $35 per car space in the private lots, or would there be a change? One factor to consider is the fact that if the town is responsible to pay sales tax on parking revenue, that could add about just under $2 to, or take away $2 of the revenue. Might even be a tad more than $2, but basically $2. So instead of getting 35, we get close to 33. Given it was just increased recently, one could say this is a cost that we're not making more money on it necessarily, but if you rounded it up to $5 extra, that would generate more money. So it might be that we keep it at 35 this year and reserve the right to see how things go, and then maybe adjust it the following year if necessary. But I think we will be having to take a little bit of the revenue and pay sales tax.
I thought we discussed that we're going to keep it the same because of the COVID and everything like that, and revisit this next year.
Yeah.
Well, why can't we just charge an additional, tack it on, just like we do in the...
Well, I guess you'd want to keep it. I don't know whether you get into $32 or $32.
Well, it's $35 plus tax, it's just like buying a soda or anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing it here on the regular parking. $9.57.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I think it's nice that we're not going up, but if we change the charge, it was $35 with the tax, we're taking a hit.
That's right.
So,
yeah, because I don't know the aggregate number of cars, but it's probably maybe 300.
Yeah, that's not our fault, really. It's state, not us. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Well,
I agree.
it could be priced with the sales tax, such as the kiosk is, and then it's more clear that it's not. You're not rounding it up to some other number. Okay, well, if that's the consensus, we can agree that we'll do the math and figure out.
I mean, 37, 20, 22.
Okay.
That includes tax.
Yeah. 37, 22. Okay. And we'll put language in there that the extras. Due to the state of Connecticut taxing one more thing. Okay. I think also there was probably some. I know that there was discussion. I guess I read an email where the process would be we'd probably want to close what's known as Lot B11, which I think is the pedestrian access onto the Miami Beach, just to the west of where Portland Avenue is, and require people to come to Hartford Avenue to go onto the beach. The Miami residents would go through a gate. They could go either way, but a lot of them would likely go down to the western end of the beach where there's another gate with a code. And that would be a manned gate manned by Miami Beach. I think there was a recommendation that Pond Road at just past the Henson parking lot, which is a few yards to the west of Portland, that not be a thoroughfare. And I think Miami would direct its residents who live beyond there to come in the gate off of 156 and come down that way. They're working this out, but it would likely, they would want to close off Portland west of where the Henson parking lot is. So that's being discussed, and I think they did it last year, I believe. Didn't they block that off last year?
At the end of daylight hours.
Yeah.
The gate at the west end stayed closed the entire season. It's already closed.
Yeah. And I guess pedestrian traffic, people who Miami Beach residents who would come to Hartford Avenue, let's say, there'd still be access. It wouldn't be totally closed off, but pedestrians would be okay. Anything else on Soundview?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, thank you for that information. The town budget meeting will occur here at 7:30 tonight. The Board of Finance will recommend the budget that they and the Board of Selectmen have been working on. So that'll be here at 7:30. The meeting hall will be open to the public, subject to capacity constraints. So as we know, the school budget passed at its referendum a couple of weeks ago by a very large margin. I think we had a grand total of 309 voters from Old Lyme, which is a pretty small percentage turnout, but between our town and Lyme, the budget passed with flying colors. Concerning new business, the town underwent a nuclear power plant readiness drill a couple of weeks ago. This is in preparation for the evaluated exercise, which will occur on June 8th. And I think the frequency is every other year. I think one year it's a non-evaluated drill, and the other year it's an evaluated drill. So, stupid thing. So that'll the readiness drill went quite well, according to the people, the controllers they call it, that were running, were representing the utility and so forth. Okay, now we come to the section of the agenda called public comment. We'll take people on the phone first, and then we do the audience first. Here, you're right here. So anybody wish to speak to the selectmen, please state your name and address, and we will listen to your comment, whoever wishes to speak.
Dean, last name Marino.
Again?
Dean, last name Marino, M-A-R-I-N-O.
Okay.
86 Swan Avenue.
All right, 86. Very good.
I just had a comment about the sidewalk ongoing project, that I noticed that some of the walk downs and walk ups were very steep. I don't know if that was taken into consideration on winter, of somebody slipping, which may indicate liability. And on the corner of Shore Road and Hartford Avenue extension, there is a lot. It's already, the construction company had already painted areas where they're going to cut and it encroaches on the property, apparently the property owner of that lot, and the current driveway patch from Shore Road onto that corner lot is wide, but where they painted it, where the cutout's going to be, it shrunk down. If I'm looking at it properly, I have photos, so I was just kind of wondering, what's the, is there anybody that can give an outline as to what's going to happen there? Because there's shrubs taken down, there's like a fence post that's cutting right through someone's property.
Yeah, they said that they were going to take all the bushes, the whole 50 feet wide. They're going to take all those bushes down. They're trees, they're flowering trees, I shouldn't call them bushes.
I have a photo if you want to take a look at it.
That would be helpful. Yeah.
Power up my phone here. Turn it off.
And it's the entrance to the lot, which is on Shore Road.
On Shore Road.
Yeah, it's the lot on Shore Road.
Mm-hmm.
It's one, Hartford Avenue, and it goes out to Shore Road.
May I approach?
And it's 50 feet that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is the current entrance, paved entrance.
The apron is already paved.
It's small.
Yep, and you can see the red. It looks like the walkways are coming down, and then there's just a little path.
So is this like the legal access to the property here?
It's my aunt's property.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's in, yeah, and it's
And there's another. I'll show you. There's another.
where the two posts are is how
Right
big
here.
the entrance should be.
Mm-hmm.
So there looks
And
like
they're
they're
taking those posts
cutting
down.
across.
Because that,
have to
they
take-
surveyed all that, right?
All these trees are
The
coming
way
down.
I can't even, I'd have to see the
Right,
picture.
that's
Right across from the
right
Okay, we
across
get,
from the,
we'll probably have
convenience
to,
store.
one of the,
I think you guys will recognize what they're talking about.
It's the
Is that right?
adjacent to
Is that a-
the convenience store.
Yeah, the
where
Easy
the
Mart?
crosswalk- Where the crosswalk is, yeah.
yeah.
So if you come across to
Oh,
the
yeah.
Hartford Avenue extension, right to the left, there's right now a big paved apron into the lot. But that photo looks like it's shrunk down, and they're also taking part of the fence posts and the shrubs that are there.
Okay.
Was some,
I can at least tell you from your picture, thank you for this, that helps me. That property is state DOT property. It's not personal property, it's in the DOT right of way. And what they are outlining is where the sidewalk is going to go, the new sidewalk, and then the curbing. So yeah, I recognize that asphalt piece is right through there. If that's your concern, yeah, that will be eliminated.
And what about the shrubs that are currently there and the fence posts? Because is there a plan for the project? Obviously there is.
Right outside out in the
To
entry.
show what's the current property owner in the project.
Yep, everyone got a letter, a registered letter, so hopefully you got yours to detail that in the fall. The plans have been up on the wall and the detailed plans in the hallway since, I want to say January, February. We put a flyer on everybody's doorstep. I personally did that to let you know that there was sort of an open house if you didn't get a chance to meet with us before that, the end of April, to go over some of this. As far as the shrubs on that property, if they're on DOT property, they will be coming out.
What is that?
They're saying it's DOT, state of Connecticut property and right of way onto that. From
On
Shore
Shore
Road.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, this is because of the state of Connecticut, they can take
Correct.
that deep,
It's their property, it's their area.
huh?
It's their area. That's the state property there.
I'm not quite sure what that is.
Because the engineer did surveying work to establish where the property line is for the homeowner and where, or business and the DOT.
Okay.
So if somebody planted trees they thought that was on their property, but in actuality it's on the state property, then that's not what they're supposed to do. But if it's there and it's going to be where the sidewalk goes, they would have to remove it.
How far does it go into when you
Well,
say this is your...
you might, on this table here, there's a big plan, and you can have a look. There are many pages, and you can find the property you wish to see, and you can see where the survey shows the properties, the state property stops and the homeowner property begins.
Because I thought when we put the flowers and the trees and everything in there, we went within the state and said, this is yours and this is where mine begins.
Is this your property?
Yes, it is.
Okay, we didn't get your name.
Angela Lufkin. Lufs, Frank K-I-N.
Okay. Did you attend any of the meetings that were held with the property owners to see where the line is and all that?
I'm sorry?
Did you actually attend any of the meetings that were held?
I didn't, because they said it was on the north side of the road, so I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't know it was coming up
Yeah.
on that side.
Well, have a look at that plan out there. I think it shows all, the various lines and stuff.
On Hartford Avenue, the way you have the sidewalks, they've got the driveways wide enough where the cars can go in. So why is it on Shore Road, they're making the entrance to my lot so small?
Do you have an entrance on Hartford Avenue Extension to your property?
The property is on Shore Road. I live on Hartford Avenue Extension, 306.
Right. Is that how you access your property? On Hartford Avenue Extension?
Oh, no, we go in from Shore Road because a lot of times they bring the trucks in to clean up here and there and do different things.
Okay. I got you.
And we also use it if company comes.
Yeah, I got you.
The driveway isn't big enough, so we use that, yeah. And we always have different things that I do there.
Yeah.
We have the fruit trees and everything there on the lot.
Understood.
I have all my fig trees there.
Mm-hmm.
I have about 6 of them. So,
Understood.
I don't know. The other thing I was wondering, you're putting the sidewalks in now. If the beach association and the town decides to put those sewers in, I guess they're going to have to dig up all those sidewalks.
They can tunnel under them.
Or you tunnel under it, and that's the way they designed it.
Yeah, I mean, probably, I don't know that I've seen exact how it's all going to work. Okay. There will not be a sewer main in Route 156. It might be back further on North Street or something, so I can't tell you exactly how that's going to work.
Yeah. The sidewalks, whoever, like my nephew said here, to me, look a little dangerous in the winter. If there's ice on the sidewalk and people are walking up, the way it comes down, it comes this way, then it goes down. You're going to slip and slide. I don't know why they designed it that way.
It's a steep drop.
Well, you know that the plans, just so you know, were engineered. They weren't like just sending our public works, but they were engineered and they were approved by DOT, so all the specs should meet DOT requirements. The driveways are built and the sidewalks are built to the town's specifications. So the one thing that it looks kind of odd right now because they haven't done all the grading, like Chris pointed out in our last meeting, it's just drop off. And until they do all the grading inside, it does look a little different. They're start at that point. hopefully the sod will take and it will look more like it used to look, with people's having green space in front of their yards. But it is all perspective, and it has to be per ADA specifications too. So the drop is to allow for ADA access and for the cars to come in.
For just one more thing, on Shore Road, now do I have to work with the state of Connecticut because of that, or do I work with the town as far as that entrance?
The entrance is that entrance is on the DOT right of way. It's not the town's property at all. And the sidewalk is going right through there. So in order to get access to that, you would have to call the DOT and get a permitted entrance from the DOT.
That's called the state.
Mm-hmm.
That's called the state.
So there's not an existing driveway there?
There's that piece of asphalt that you saw in the picture, but not a driveway.
Well, it's a paved apron, yeah.
And their access to the home, I know Angela talked about using that, but their access on the plans are in Hartford Extension.
Right, the lot's separate, it's from Shore Road.
Right, to her home, though, the access is on Hartford Extension.
Yeah, right, this is an additional lot.
It's an additional.
Right, so that's the access to that lot is on Shore Road. So if you sold off that lot,
But you can get to that lot from Hartford Extension, correct?
It's grass. There's no paved.
It's on Shore
No
Road.
paved apron. It's on Shore Road.
The lot is Shore Road, it's not Hartford Avenue.
Okay.
The lot is on Shore
Road,
and that's the way it's in the.
Okay. Well, I'll add it to my list
and everything.
I'll add it to my list for our discussion tomorrow. But right now, the plan is that access will go away. But let me bring it up at our committee meeting tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
You have a look at that plan out there. That'll give you a little clarity.
Yeah, well, see, from Portland Avenue to Hartford Avenue, that's all Shore Road, that's all state, right? And then Hartford Avenue's the extensions.
Right. Once you get past.
I'll show you the map.
Yeah, okay.
All right, good. So we'll open it up for the people on the phone. On the phone, is there anyone who wishes to address the selectmen? I don't know the way it cut out.
Is it on you?
I think you just unmuted, didn't you?
Anyone on the phone can hear me? We'll try the...
Can Patty respond?
All participants are being asked to unmute themselves.
I'll try that. On the phone, can you hear me? Anyone on the phone? All right. I don't know why nobody's responding.
Can you ask if Patty can hear us?
Pardon?
Patty, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All
Hard
right.
to tell.
You're welcome.
We'll take that as no public comment from the people on the phone.
All participants have been
All right.
muted.
So we can then turn to other business.
I have none.
Tim, did you get a list from of who's going to be marching in the Memorial Day Parade? I tried to call Tony, or I left an email for Tony Hendricks after the previous meeting. I haven't heard back from him, so I'm not even, maybe I didn't even.
Yeah, you got to repeat that because
You should try Tony Valambrosa.
Or Tony Valambrosa.
That's who.
Oh,
Did you get a list from Tony Valambrosa of who's going to be marching that I could look at?
I have not seen a list as such myself, but between the two Tonys, they usually have an order of march and so forth.
Yeah.
Do you have Tony's email?
I think I told, no, I
I can get it for you.
you can just send it to me? Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. I have some requests and couldn't answer. Okay. I think it's Michael Hansen, the fellow that's been very patient on the property.
Yeah.
Do we have an update on his property?
Yeah, the next step is for the town to obtain appraisals on the two properties, and I think we're going to ask Steve Flanagan and is it Mr. Russ? To give us a quote to do them, and then get that on the works. I informed them that the annual town budget meeting would be too close at hand, so they're understanding that. We have both the signed agreements back that I sent out, so that's good news. And so the next step is the appraisal, and we'll see which one comes in with the most favorable pricing. And once that's done, that will essentially establish the price. As I said in the letter, if there are any other abutters, that would be the next step. Once we have the appraisal, then we can contact other abutters. There are not many for either property, but in fairness, we would need to let the other abutters know that there's an interest in selling the property, and if they wish to make a bid, they may. And then once we have that, let's say nobody else bids, and it's the two individuals who started with us, then we just move on. If there is competition, then we'd have to have a bidding process, and then that would determine who the ultimate buyer would be.
I know we had several properties that the town was interested in maybe.
I'm sure there are other properties. It would be interesting to try to create a list of said properties, because there's probably a number of things that just is of no use to us as a town, and get it back on a tax roll. With these, we still need to go to planning for the 824 hearing, but that's a fairly simple matter. So between the assessor, perhaps, it's hard to say how you determine which properties are excess baggage at this point.
Well, I know there is a list that's already been created, and maybe our assessor has that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay, that would be helpful.
yeah.
If they go in my property, say 8 or 10 feet, does that make my property smaller than 50 feet? I mean, 100 feet, because it's 100 feet long and 50 feet wide. So then it'd be only 90 feet. They put the sidewalks and all of those in. That would shorten
The contractor is only working on DOT property. They are not going on private property.
Okay. He'll explain it.
Okay.
Because I have a little.
That's fine.
Mary Jo, I just emailed Tony, and I
Thank
CC'd
you.
you, so.
Okay. Thank you very much. We had talked at a few meetings about maybe having a committee set up to look at or prioritize the American Rescue Funds that we expect to get. And I know we're going to be getting that first tranche pretty soon. And I think the idea, at least the idea I had, is that we would have people from various aspects of the town hall and maybe social services, LYSC, to evaluate how we are going to utilize these monies or prioritize how we're going to use these funds based on, certainly when we get the actual specifics from the state. And
That's it, yeah. I think we have to be very careful on what we do. I've heard that nonprofits might be eligible, but if if you open the door there, then any number of nonprofits could ask to be considered. It seems to me we ought to understand what the rules are completely, and then if there are town projects, maybe the town would benefit by using those funds for these projects as opposed to dispersing the money to other parties. Because if you have a lot of requests, how do you'll have to set up a mechanism to evaluate the worthiness of the nonprofits, and I think that gets to be a tar baby. I think we know that there are a couple of projects that we might have to spend town money on that would benefit all citizens, potentially. And so...
Well, we can still set up a committee.
Yeah, but I don't know that we ought to really look into this completely before we say we're going to set up a committee to consider grants to nonprofits. Because if you open that door, I think you're setting expectations that could result in disappointment or who knows what.
I don't think my idea is not to set up a process for distribution of the funds. It's prioritizing based on the information we have where the funds should best be utilized, recognizing the pandemic's effect in various parts of our community. For example, job training, daycare for people that are trying to get back to work, things like that. Obviously, there's the CCM put out there two webinars that are coming out. That's our lobby group. First one's this Friday, and then our particular town will be addressed the following Friday. So you can register for that to get more insights. But on their website, they have the latest interim information from the Treasury Department to what categories should be considered for utilization of the funds. And I would agree when we first started talking with it, it was really fuzzy. Now it's a little bit more detailed. So rather than just get this taxpayer dollars and not have a plan to use it, I don't think that's good fiscal management. And we don't know what we don't know. So that's why I thought a committee of people, various people from various parts of town, experience and credentials might serve us well to advise the Board of Selectmen on the recommendations, because this will be a Board of Selectmen initiative.
Do you know when, does anybody know when we might get awarded this?
It's supposed to
It should be soon. They keep promising, but I would hope that there'd be one group or another that would really get into the details of how it can be used and all that, because so far it's been very vague as far as I can tell. I haven't seen anything.
And I think that's a good point too, Tim. I think that should be one of the responsibilities of this committee, to provide as much detail as possible to the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah. One would expect either OPM or CCM or some group would be making seminars for the towns and cities, so we know where the boundaries are. Right now, I've not really heard too much, so it's going to be very important, and CCM probably the first step.
CCM is doing that. CCM is doing that.
Yeah, that would. I don't know if they've had sessions. I've not heard about it myself, but hopefully they will, because they'd be a good one to explain it.
Yeah, our town will be on the session that they're holding a week from Friday. This Friday is for towns that we're not a part of. We're on I forget what they call it. We're on the next Friday's seminar. So you can sign up online. I think it's at 11 o'clock. It's in the morning. It's for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And they, in addition to signing up for the webinar, they have all the documents online too that are available.
Yeah. We'll be ready for that.
So you're not interested in setting up a committee?
The what?
You're not interested in having a committee set up?
I think we could set up a committee. The committee, I think we have to be careful to make sure the committee's not being formed to do a specific thing that we're not sure we can do. I think the first stage would be people would be learning the rules, and then the second thing would be sorting through and prioritizing what the town might do. The school gets its own pot of money itself, so I think things having to do with education would be with the school, but the town of Old Lyme would be separate from that, just like normal. So we could think of a group that, a small group. I don't think we need 100 people.
Come up with a couple names or something like that for next week meeting.
Yeah.
And we can see where the state is at that point in time.
And if we hear that the funds are being distributed, we might want to accelerate. But, I think we could start thinking of a few people that might work on this, because it'll be, depending on how widespread it is, it'll be an important thing, and there'll be a lot of people looking at it and making sure that their interests are served. So.
Thank you. While you were gone, there was a Park and Rec Commission meeting that I happened to attend by WebEx. And it was a special meeting held here. And when I signed on, there were clearly some of the commission were here in this room. And there were members of the public that tried to come to the meeting to discuss the summer camp options. At the previous meeting, apparently the Park and Rec Commission had voted not to hold summer camp this year. And there were members of the public that were hoping that the commission would revisit that. But at the start of the meeting, when these people tried to enter the meeting, the chair made them leave the meeting. The chair said that no public was allowed in the meeting. And the people that I could hear on the phone just asked to make sure that could they listen outside. And the chair said, sure, you can call in on your phone. So they apparently went out here and looked in the window and called on the phone during public comment. I happened to be listening in during this part, and I was appalled that the public was turned away from a public meeting. Appalled and really angry. Subsequent to that meeting, a couple of the women who attended and were turned away have published a lot of their concerns on various social media and media. And it was clearly a violation of FOI. In addition, apparently I was told, again, because I was calling and I didn't see anything, that the members of the commission were here without wearing masks. So that was another concern people had. The chair has been the commission chair for a really long time. It's been in the chair since I was elected, so I don't know how long before that. I were calling on this board, in particular you, Tim, to investigate what happened. It's all on tape. There's no denial what happened. And I believe that we should ask for the chairman's resignation.
Well, I sent a memo to the chair recommending that they consult with FOI and understand what they did versus what they should have done and what might be corrective action and so forth. So I have not heard a response in terms of what their next step is.
Maybe they can come in the next meeting and explain themselves.
Yeah, because I think one suggestion would be if they violated the FOI, they might have a special make-up meeting type thing to make it proper. So,
Maybe
I don't know all the details.
Explanation. So maybe we can have an explanation by the chair.
Yeah. And it probably needs to have the input from FOI as to that it was incorrect way to go about things, and then start with that if that's the case.
Well, the town has held FOI training sessions periodically since I've been elected, and there's no question that public meetings, you don't kick out the public. Understandably, you could only have so many in the hall, but that wasn't the case at the meeting.
Right.
Can I make a comment?
No, we're past public comment.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry.
So, guidance by FOI, the statute, it's pretty well understood. There's a lot of information on it. I think it's probably you're probably going to get a complaint on one of the attendees. So that would be up to the FOI commission then to whether they want to investigate or not. They could, or they could choose not to. But it was appalling. It should not have happened. And I think the chair has been chair long enough that he knows the rules well enough not to take public out of a public meeting.
Well, I think we can get clarity on that because superficially we seem to have poor practice, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
Thank you. I guess the last thing I want to bring up, after the last meeting, I thought a lot about the folks that called in who were in opposition with the resolution declaring racism a public health crisis. There have been far more people in favor than in opposition, so I was really hoping to get some understanding of what the feedback was, and it does seem to me like what I heard was that racism in old line pieces and that being considered a public health crisis is kind of hanging people up on that verbiage. But as I stated before, I don't believe old line people are racist, but the resolution is a forward-looking value statement, and it just acknowledges that there's national and state discussions on this, and yes, in the past we may have had issues in town too, but that statement was not drafted by me, it was drafted by educators who recognize that communities are better when they're all equitable, and all have access to good housing, medical care, jobs, transportation, and then there's strength and diversity and job opportunities. So the importance of this leadership recognizing that it provides a framework for collaboration within town, within people that maybe don't have a voice, like the Alice population in our town, as well as our neighbors who have signed on board, New London and Old Saybrook, finding common ground to share ways we can make sure that the benefits of southeastern Connecticut are equitably shared throughout. And I really think we can have that discussion in town. I think we have a lot of people who support it and would be willing to have that discussion. Whether you sign this resolution or another one similar, that's the point. And even our Sustainable Old Line program has a equity opportunity for the town to work on and address areas where we feel that diversity is lacking, and maybe there's opportunity for access to services in town. And there's an opportunity to form to sign on a resolution. So I'm trying to clarify the fact that I think that the town would be represented well by forming a committee, having a discussion on how we can better assure that we have diversity and equitable policies in place for us all to be healthier and recognize that we do have a lot of benefits here at Old Lyme that some of our neighbors do not. And it's definitely our responsibility to address, to make sure that everybody at the table is represented. Be that the Alice population that has suffered probably terribly during COVID, the LGBTQ population in town. This committee would look at having conversations with the underrepresented people and make sure that we did the right thing going forward to make sure we were equitable. Everything from looking at perhaps deeds in town that were written years ago that no longer maybe apply, but need to be addressed to make sure that there's no biased language in any of that, so that people, when they do buy a property or want to come here, feel welcome. So I'm hoping, with the Board of Selectmen's support, that we can develop priorities that assure that we are equitable in this room and in our boards, commissions, and committees, and people know they're welcome to come to Old Lyme, and that we are willing to share and collaborate with our neighbors.
Very good.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, moved and seconded at 5:35 p.m. Thank you.
Are we leaving these out tonight?
No.
No, when?